We are back in action. Attican Wealth team. What is going on, dudes?
Good morning.
What's up, brother?
We've got Colin J and Ray J and Wesley J over here. Ray, you had something to riff on. You got open floor, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Wes. Good morning, Colin. Yeah, I just had a rough conversation with my wife in the morning. I'm probably going to start with that sentiment most days, boys. But it did not put me in a mindset for success. And when I want either Attican Wealth Team clients or fans to tune in to this recording every day and be put in a mindset for success. So I had to remind myself that yesterday, after our check-in, I went and had a high-quality touch with a client, sold a painting, made a 10% commission.
Awesome.
Feel good about that win. Yeah, feel good about that win. Now, that puts me in a mindset for success. However, sales, as you know, there's like a diminishing return on the high you get from sales. At this point in my journey, it's about every minute after that sale, I lose about 10%. So after about 10 minutes, I'm back to like a scarcity, hoarding canned goods. I want to know what puts you in a mindset for success. Like, what do you want people to do when they tune in here and after they exit, they're in a mindset for success? Tell me what works for you. Tell me what you want to do for others. Take it wherever you want. The mindset for success.
Yeah, I'd like to take a stab if that's okay, only because I have the answer right off the top of my head. And I'm just holding up my iPhone here. And if you can see it, it's a picture of my grandmother. And that's on my home screen. And that reminds me of the day that I could not pay for a beach chair for my grandmother. And she has an injured knee. So she had to sit on the sand. And for me, that day was like, I feel like I've had many financial rock bottoms, like when I was a kid, teenager, and so on, because we grew up poor. But as we were building the business, I put so much money back into the business where like I just didn't have any cash flow for myself. And my grandmom came out to visit, and it was her final day, and we wanted to go to the beach prior, and I didn't have any gas in the car. I only had enough gas maybe to make it like 2 miles, my perception was. And my grandmom said, "Hey, let's go to the beach." And I wanted to give her that gift. And then she's like, I was like, "Oh, I don't have a beach chair." And then I realized like, I don't have the money to buy a beach chair. So to me, it might sound like a corny story, but to me that like hit me so deep. It's like, why do I not have enough money to buy my grandmother a beach chair? Then I got a text message when we're at the beach, and I'm already just like furious with myself, right? Thinking that I'm worthless, like all the demons that we all have in our subconscious. Then I get a text message from the airline saying that her flight was canceled at the local airport, and I had to go to LAX to get her on a flight later that afternoon. I didn't have any gas in my car, and I had no money to then buy. So I didn't care about that. The only thing I cared about was breaking down on the way to LAX with my grandmother, who's not like fully mobile, right? And both of you know LAX traffic. I mean, somehow by the grace of God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, I got there and back. And I'm not fabricating the story. I literally to this day do not know how that happened. At that point, I was driving like a super old like Lexus, and I think it's just, or no, maybe a Hyundai Sonata, and like knew how to run off of fumes or something. But anyway, I captured that picture. That picture has been on my phone for I don't know how many years upon years now, but every single morning, that's the first thing that I see. It's like, I'm not going back there. It's just not an option. So that's what motivates me.
I love this question. So thank you for posing it, Ray. This is getting recorded on November 29th of 2023. And just yesterday, Wes, your story is reminding me of this. Yesterday, we lost one of our like iconic heroes in our space, right? Charlie Munger passed away at the age of 99. Yeah. So he was a month and a few days short of reaching age 100, born on January 1st of, I think, 1924. Yeah, that'd make him 100, right? And because of this, I'm seeing so many people in our industry share a lot of his famous wisdom. And one of the stories that just surfaced was how when he was 29 years old, recently divorced, just about to bury his 9-year-old son because he lost his battle to leukemia. Right. Most people turn to vices. Most people turn to, a lot of things that are self-destructive. And Charlie shared that he kind of built this mental model of soldier on. Right. So I think that's part of it, just adopting a mindset of soldier on. So that would be the first thing I'd say. The second thing is I'm also a big Andrew Huberman fan. So you'll probably hear me reference a lot of his work, or the work that he shares of colleagues of his. And I was actually just listening to him last night and finished listening to it today. And he actually talked about this, like procrastination, and how do you get in this mindset that you could develop like a protocol or a structure so that you can push through those, those down cycles, right? And one thing that he shared is like you can kind of biohack the brain by starting off with something really, really bad, right? So whatever you're procrastinating, do something worse than that. So it hijacks the brain so that everything is kind of a downhill cruise from there, right? So this is why things like cold tubs have become very popular. People will wake up in the morning and jump in a tub that's like 40, 45 degrees, because it just starts the day with doing something so painful, right, that everything else after that feels like it's downhill. So it's not hard for me to do that. I'm not a morning person at all. So if I just set the alarm clock to 6 a.m., I start the day doing something hard. I'm embarrassed to admit that, right? But it's true, right? And whatever that is for you, and here's kind of the key. It has to actually be unenjoyable. So if you enjoy working out, even though you're doing something hard, objectively tough, right? Stressing yourself objectively, you're not getting that same benefit. So it has to be something that you legitimately do not enjoy doing, and you can kind of biohack the brain to get yourself into a position to say like, okay, I did the hardest thing of the day. Now everything else is downhill from here. So whatever's harder than calling the prospect or getting into the sales funnel, whatever it is, whatever you're trying to tackle, do something harder than that. And the next activity or the next task doesn't seem as bearing.
Colin, I'm gonna have my wife call you first thing in the morning instead of talking to me. I think it will definitely be the hardest thing you do all day. But I remember you mentioned this before, where on your to-do list you pick the hardest thing, whether that's the call to tell the client that this stock is down, or whether it's the prospect that you think is a long shot. I know you've talked about that, but it's interesting that you also manufacture difficult scenarios in the morning, like that cold plunge.
Yeah.
Because regardless of whether you've got an easy day or a challenging day ahead in terms of your priority list, that's a mental like a biohack that you do, where you're fearless when it comes to everything else after you start the day like that. Personally, and if Wes, if you don't mind me,
please,
going around the table. So I like that. So you mentioned Andrew Huberman puts you in the mind and that mindset for success. Wes, you talked about you harvest an experience when your highest self didn't show up, right? And if I can just phrase it that way, and that picture represents that, and it's like a never again. I think of Jordan Peterson's rule number 2 of his 12 rules for life. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. The reason that hack works for me is because I'm just like in terms of the personality traits or the DISC system, I'm a helper / enthusiast. So if I'm laboring with heavy bags and I see an old lady with her groceries, I'll gladly heap hers on as well, right? Just because I'm so motivated to help others. So the mindset shift I like to take is treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. That way I can power through my to-do list, my priority list. And that puts me in the right mindset for going after what I want for the day.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I want to throw out a curveball to you guys, almost not in opposition of what Colin was saying, but have you guys ever experienced where the way to get something hard done is to put something harder on the top of the list that you actually procrastinate on with the formerly hardest thing? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like, I
Yeah, I've
wonder
heard you
if
talk
there's,
about this.
yeah, I
Like
wonder
I've
if
heard,
there's a
for
pattern
example,
there.
like I've heard you talk about if you need to learn a new software, for example, you will open your laptop and sit in the chair for an hour, and if you have to sit in painful silence for an hour, you don't permit yourself to get up and leave from that chair.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Or like a recent example that I had this year was I was asked to speak at a wedding. What do they call that? I still to what's that?
MC,
No,
best man.
You were the officiate. Was it
yeah, the
officiate?
efficient. Yeah,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
I
okay.
obviously I didn't know what that meant before, and I forget the term now. So that was like really, I don't want to say it was a good amount of eustress. Like I was happy to do it, but it was like stressful. But I knew that was the hardest thing I probably had to do that year because I'd never done it, and it's for the arguably the most important event of these people's lives up until that point. So I noticed that I got done a whole bunch of other stuff during that time because my brain was like, well, I don't want to do that freaking thing. So like in contrast, it was like, oh, these are, it was
Yep.
almost, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like way easier. Now, when that thing was not on my list, well, the next in line, the second in priority, that was the hardest thing. So I found myself doing the thing just below that. Have you guys ever experienced that? And I wonder if that's got to be a psychological pattern that has a name to it.
Yeah,
Colin?
I'm not smart enough to comment on exactly what you're articulating, Wes. But I like definitely right. Like, and I think a lot of people might get it just slightly backwards with the you've heard like, hey, get up today and make your bed, right? To like create the momentum of like getting yourself into a winning mindset, into a productive mindset. But I would take that back to like kind of like playing office. I feel like a lot of people like, reorganize the office or straighten up the room or vacuum the carpet or whatever it is to fool themselves, or it's basically a form of procrastination. You feel like you're doing something that's productive, but it's really putting off those, to your point, those higher priority and maybe even more daunting tasks that you should be tackling that day. So maybe we should come up with some formula of like, hey, have some sort of huge goal or huge task that's like always hanging over our head, that hacks us to get all of those other things that really are important and actually move the business forward, so that we can kind of take this and use it as to our advantage as opposed to our peril.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
indeed.
completely agree. Ray, what are your thoughts?
Well, Wes, what Colin is talking about, and his previous point about doing the hardest thing first, um, uh, so like I'm synthesizing what you both talked about, and it's manufacturing stress or manufacturing urgency. And you could call it a false sense of stress or a false sense of urgency that gets you into the achiever mindset. I mean, that's what I'm hearing. So the cold plunge, for example, in the morning, that Colin talked about, that's manufacturing stress for your body unnecessarily, in order to make you fearless for the rest of your priority list. And what you're talking about is you're manufacturing a sense of urgency almost, because like another hypothetical would be like tax season, in March and April of each year. You'd much rather be reshingling the roof,
Yeah, exactly.
than going through your receipts for taxes. And so you're manufacturing something unnatural. I also think of the way I think men in this comfortable modern time, a lot of us want to manufacture the warrior ethos or the warrior training or the warrior environment, in order to really access that warrior mentality, that warrior that's in our DNA, that's buried down there. And so that's what I'm hearing from both of you gentlemen, that there is a healthy stress, a healthy urgency, a healthy state of war almost that we want to manufacture in order to create that success mindset, to push you to make that one more call, to push you to make that one more email, to push you to in case that win is just around the corner.
Well, and I wonder, I think it gets tricky if we go too far down the slope of like manufacturing, because then it could just become, well, I don't really have to do that. I'm tricking my brain, but my brain is no longer tricked. So I wonder if there's a hack there of best to manufacture it by going and joining a team or committing to another human where they're depending on the outcome. Like I didn't manufacture them but they expected me to be up on that stage speaking during their wedding. That's an immovable event. So I wonder if there's something there of like, you can manufacture it to the point of where you can throw it over to another human or group of humans where they have expectations of you. Because at that point, I wonder if it's triggering the limbic system, because I think that's really what we're getting to, right? How can you trigger your limbic system to say, we have to move, or, not to sound dramatic about it, we will die or move down the social hierarchy, and then eventually that will mean death.
Well, deadlines, Wes, we know this for sure, right? How often do we throw out a deadline, like a firm deadline, like one that's legitimate, right? And it just so magically happens that, you know, it gets done. But how many times have, you know, I'll be, you know, very transparent, very honest here. How many times have you and I thrown a deadline out to each other, but it really wasn't like a hard and fast deadline where if like something didn't happen, it didn't get accomplished, we're in big trouble. That you could just kind of let that one slip by. So yeah, to you know, Ray, you bringing up that sense of urgency. If you want something done, put deadlines on people, and they tend to meet that deadline, whether their biology wants to do the task or not.
Yeah. And so right. And so the manufactured stress or manufactured urgency, you're right, Wes. Like be careful. You can remind yourself, oh, this is just a little brain teaser, but you can level that up, or you can get extra life bars or whatever in a video game context if you add accountability, right? By telling a friend, by telling a team member, by committing to the team that you're going to do this, and also, like Colin, like you said, by adding a deadline. These are ways that like compounds the stress, compounds the urgency, and makes it that much more effective.
Yeah, and there's something about confronting, like, you're not going to get away from the work. You know, confronting the work, realizing that if you want to make up anything of yourself, you have to get in the octagon. Right. And then once you're in the octagon, like, that is just between you and the opponent, which is work. None of the other noise matters. Not all of the fans making their comments, or the family saying, what are you doing? Or the friend saying you'll never make it, or, hey, your day's only anchored in these two things, Ray, and, you know, my day's much harder. No, once you get in that octagon, then the only thing you have left to do is fight the work. So I think whatever we have to do to get ourselves actually in the arena, on the floor, then the rest kind of takes care of itself. But I think a lot of us, just human nature, is to spend all of this time hemming and hawing and creating excuses. And the tricky part about excuses is once you become kind of smart, it's really easy to create very persuasive excuses that persuade all of the people around you, that really don't matter much in terms of your personal bottom line. This is also why I honestly love money. Not in an unhealthy way, but because money is so precise that it says, okay, well, will Wes do this for free? Okay, maybe the answer is no. Will he do it for $100, $1,000, $10,000, $1 million? Like, at some point, there's going to be the equilibrium of where the action is justified by the incentive. It's that whole, you know, quote of, show me the incentive and I'll show you the result.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings ever is the heaviest weight at the gym is the front door. And I love that so much, right? Because it's exactly what you just said, Wes. Getting to the arena is typically the part that has the most friction. Once I get to the gym, no problem working out. Absolutely zero issue getting my workout or my cardio run or whatever it is. And, you know, like it's so incredible that like just getting dressed into my car from the car to the gym, like that's where 100% of the issue is. Right. And if I could just do that much, and you know, I'll make it even more embarrassing. I've built out a pretty, you know, robust, for lack of better terms, gym in my basement of my home, in my basement. And just going from my couch down a flight of stairs to the slightly colder basement, slightly basement, right? Yeah, there's enough friction in that. So like I am a big fan. I'm in huge favor of creating an environment that removes as much friction as possible, down to like literally zero if that's an actual outcome.
Yeah, Wes, I was worried that Colin was going to say that home gym is just on the other side of this camera. You know, and,
virtually, man.
But down the stairs isn't much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that the heaviest weight at the gym is the front door. Wes, I was also thinking about the metaphor. I was thinking it was like you said, octagon. I was thinking like Roman gladiators, and it's like the noise and the crowd and everything, and it's like just get down onto the dirt, like with the lions and, you know, and like the other gladiators, and like you're gonna, like the chances that you're gonna fight like your life depends on it are pretty high if you're down there in the dirt, right? If you're down there in the arena. So just get yourself to the arena. And yeah.
Absolutely love it. I think that's a great message to end on. I got to jet to a meeting. You guys are awesome. Everybody get in the arena. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Heck yeah.
See you next time.